The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 3 of a 3-part series, Trade Nadex Products. My name is Todd Rich. I'm the head of education at Nadex. And today's session is about binary options. It's going to be a full-blown deep dive into binary options. Now, this is a 3-part series. If you missed parts 1 or 2, part 1 was a deep dive into call spreads. That was 2 weeks ago. Last week was a deep dive into knockouts. And today we're wrapping it up with binary options. Now, if you happen to have missed one of the previous 2 sessions, we did record them. They are available on the Nadex YouTube channel. They are also available on the Nadex website. If you go to the webinar section of the Nadex website, under the archive, you'll be able to find them. This session is also being recorded, so if you'd like to go back and review it at your own pace or share it with somebody else, by all means, you'll be able to do so. Hopefully the recording will be up later today, if not tomorrow. All right, with that, let's get going because we do have a lot to cover. But before I do anything, I do have to put up this disclaimer slide. This webinar, as are all of our webinars, are sponsored by our compliance department. And I do need you to take a look at what's on the screen. Trading at Nadex, as well as any place else, does involve risk. And that risk and the trading decisions are solely your responsibility. The one important thing I'd really like you to notice is I am eventually going to jump over to the platform and do some real world examples. And I don't want you to take anything I say today as a buy or sell recommendation. I'm doing this strictly for your education purposes only. So please don't construe anything I say as a buy or sell recommendation. But we will be looking at live markets and maybe even putting in some demo trades just to demonstrate how the products work and how the platform works. Okay, so how are we going to go about doing this today? And we do have a lot to cover. Oh, wait, before I jump in there, this is actually rather important. I'm going to try to make this a little bit of an interactive session. There is a questions box. If you type in questions, I will try to look over and answer those as I go. I'll make best efforts to do so. Or at the end, if there's anything that wasn't, perfectly clear, if you have a question, odds are somebody else has the same one, and I will try to get to all the questions and make sure that you understand or comprehend everything that I'm sharing with you. The other thing I'm going to point out is we are accessible to you. Nadex is accessible. So just like I'm making myself accessible right now, I do want you to know that you can always email us at customerservice@nadex.com. In fact, I'll even put it out there if you're watching one of our newer webinars, or we did a whole series a few weeks back, a whole summer education summit with our partner Daily FX and IG. If you find those recordings or you'd like to see any of those decks, email us, customerservice@nadex.com. If you'd like to get a copy of this deck, please email, and our service and sales team will be delighted to get you a copy of this deck. You might want to screenshot this page. I'd also like to point out our Trustpilot page. If you could go to trustpilot.com/review/nadex.com, we would love to get a review from you. We love to get positive feedback. Everyone loves positive feedback. Or if there's things that we could be doing better, by all means, please share. You can also follow us on a bunch of different social media channels. I do like to leave this up here for a second to give everyone an opportunity to screen share it or screenshot it. But please, we are accessible. We're here to help. So our agenda today, this is binary options. We are going to do a deep dive into binary options. But I'm going to start off with who is Nadex. I'm going to give a brief little background because I think it's important when we're talking about the binary option space, to call out the distinction between Nadex and other binary option providers, particularly when we're talking about other binary option providers that you might find access to from the United States. We are then going to discuss what is a binary option. We're going to define them, and we're going to go through how they work. All right, we're going to define the risk versus reward, and then we're even going to get into understanding the pricing of binaries to really understand how the price of a binary option moves and how price and time can impact the price of an option. So of a binary option. So we will go through all of that. And then after we've done all of that, and then I'm going to show you how Nadex is quite different because we offer a variety of choices in binary option space. I am then going to go and do a practical demonstration on the platform and show you. I love to show people. I think it really resonates. I'm going to go through a slide deck. You're going to hear the story. You're going to go, oh, this makes a lot of sense, or maybe I'm not quite getting it. But when I take you to the platform, you're going to go, aha, I get it. It's very it's easier to understand sometimes visually than it is to walk through and have someone explain to you, but I'm going to do both. And again, I'm going to tell you, if you would like a copy of this deck, email customer service at nadex.com. And again, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to review it later. And I am going to point out one more time, if you've got any questions, type them in the question box. I will try to get to everyone's questions as we go. All right, well, there's the ground rules. Let's go ahead and jump into who is Nadex. So Nadex is actually short for North American Derivatives Exchange. We are an exchange, just like the New York Stock Exchange or the Chicago Mercantile Exchange or the Intercontinental Exchange. We are a proper exchange. We are regulated by the Commodities and Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC. So we are a proper regulated exchange. And that is actually important. That designation is important. We are both an exchange for a market. So we have a DCM. We are also a proper clearing organization. So we are regulated by the US government. All right, the CFTC. I like to point that out because a lot of people think, oh, binary options, and binary options did earn a little bit of a dirty reputation about a decade ago when there were a bunch of unregulated participants in the marketplace. And in fact, today, most of them have been shut down. There are still some unregulated ones that are accessible that are offshore. They're not you might be able to access them from the United States over the internet, but they are not a proper regulated exchange. And Nadex is the only operating, fully regulated binary options exchange in the United States. Singular, period. We're the only one that's operating. And if you're dealing with unregulated entities that are offshore, my only advice to you would be caveat emptor, which is buyer beware. Okay? But it is important to point out Nadex is regulated. And the contracts that we have, now we've got more than binary options. Again, we have knockouts, call spreads, and binary options. But when we're talking about these types of products, they're all designed for the individual retail trader. And that's important. These were very small contracts designed specifically for the individual retail trader because they have a low cost of entry. Right? It is a low cost of entry. These are not high dollar contracts, and every one of them has defined risk. We always have defined risk. We also have defined reward. The contracts are fully collateralized, so you never have to worry about counterparty challenges, although we are the clearing organization, so any counterparty problems would be our responsibility, not yours. But the point is, it's a low cost to entry. And when I go through some examples, you'll see how what we provide is much smaller. And because it's defined risk, defined reward, it's a little bit more tangible, particularly for new traders or people who don't have large amounts of capital or who don't want to, for instance, trade on margin in other markets where your risk is unlimited. Here, very tangible, a known quantity right up front. All right, so that's a little bit on who is Nadex. Let's get into binary options. And we're going to go through a couple of slides on what is a binary option. So first off, it is a short-term defined risk, defined reward contract. All right, as simple as that. Short term, and we're going to discuss what short term means, and we'll even go through the math on defined risk, defined reward. But it is a statement or a prediction. You're making a prediction. And in a binary option, there are three components to the prediction. There's the underlying market, right, and we have a variety of markets to choose from, whether it's foreign exchange, equity indices, commodities, or events. All right, and I'll show you what we've got a variety of, but there's an underlying market. Then there's a condition, right? There's a condition, and sometimes that's called the strike price or the level, okay? And we will go through what that condition means. And then there's an expiration time, right? And we offer contracts that have a variety of amount of expirations. We have from 5-minute contracts to weekly contracts. It goes 5-minute, hourly, daily, weekly. So you have a variety of choices. So you're going to have a variety of markets, a variety of conditions or strike prices or levels, and you're going to have a variety of expiration times. Now, whether you're buying or selling a binary option, your risk and your reward are both capped. It is a known quantity before you do a trade, and it doesn't matter whether you're buying a binary option or selling a binary option. You know what you're getting into beforehand, right? Or potentially. And a binary option is going to trade in a range, and the range is from 0 to 100. And we'll call 0 the floor. It can't go any lower than 0, and it can't go any higher than 100. So now that we've kind of just did a generic definition, let's get a little bit further. When we talk about the condition, it's a prediction. It's a true or false proposition. Either the event happens or it does not. Okay, that's it. That's why it's called a binary option. And because it's only got two outcomes. There's outcome one, the prediction or the condition is true, and the option will settle at 100. If the condition is false, the option will settle at 0. And that's it. That is a binary option. So you have an underlying market, a condition, which is a true or false statement or prediction. Will this event happen? Yes or no, true or false. And if it does happen, it goes to 100. And if it's false and does not happen, it goes to 0. And what you're looking at when you see the price of a binary option, it can be thought of as reflecting the probability of the event occurring. And when I say the probability of the event occurring, that's a price or a probability that is determined by the market. There are buyers, there are sellers. If there are more buyers, the price will go up. If there are more sellers, the price will go down. But the price that you're looking at can be thought of as the probability of the event ultimately being true. So if something is trading at around 25, the market is predicting it's got a 25% chance of being true at that moment in time. Okay, and when you're trading binary options, if you're familiar with other listed options, for instance, things like calls and puts, just because I like to put it out there in the event that you are familiar with them, time and volatility, how much time till expiration and the volatility of the product will be factored into the price of the option. And that's just, if there's a lot of volatility, everything is going to trend towards a 50-50 proposition because no one knows what's going to happen because things are moving around quickly. If there's very low volatility, it will trend toward more distinct probability levels because it's not moving around a lot. And time will definitely impact that as well. And I'm going to show you on the slides, and then I'm going to show you some very real world examples, and you're going to go, wow, I get it. So what are we talking about? Let's talk about the money of a binary option. Okay. And again, if you've got any questions, fire them off. if I'm going, I think I'm going through this at a pretty good pace to make sure I'm being clear. But if you've got any questions, please type them in um, as we go. Now, I mentioned that a binary option trades between 0 and 100, right? And we mentioned that that's can be thought of as the probability of the event being true at that moment in time. When it comes to settlement, right, and that's a binary option, it's going to go to 0 or 100, that will also be the dollars that you're trading. All right, so we made it easy. So in the end, there's the contract. The contract's worth a total of $100. So in the end, if the statement is true and it goes to 100, it settles at $100. If the statement is false, it settles at $0. All right, so that makes it real easy when you're trading those probabilities. A 60 probability, also, if you bought it, also means you're going to pay $60 for it. So let's actually go through the math on that. Oops. When you trade a binary option, we mentioned these are fully collateralized. You're going to put up your collateral, right? And your collateral is going to be your maximum risk on the trade. So when you get into the position, you're going to put up the most that you could potentially lose, and we'll go from there. You can't lose any more than what you initially put in as collateral. Now, if you're buying an option, all right, you're buying, your collateral will be the price that you paid, all right? Because if you buy a binary option, let's say you bought it at 40, the most you can lose is $40 because the statement becomes false. It goes to 0, but you put up your $40. You can't lose any more than that. If your statement is true and you paid 40, it will go to 100. So you will have risked 40. You'll get 100 back, meaning you profited $60. All right, so pretty straightforward there. Now the seller, on the other hand, it's going to be the difference between 100 and where they sold. So let's say you sold an option at $40. You think this statement is going to be false. You don't think it's going to be true. You sell it at 40. The most you can make is 40. You can't make any more than 40 because you sold it at 40, and what can happen? It does become a false statement. So you were correct, and it goes to 0. You sold it at 40 and it went to 0. Now, if you sell it at 40 and it goes to 100, all right, you said you sold it at 40, you don't think this is going to happen, but it did. You were wrong. It goes to 100. You risked 40 because that's the most you can make. So I'm sorry, you risk 60 because you can lose $60. 100 minus the 40, your collateral is 60 because that's the most you can lose. You got to put your collateral as the most you can lose. So if you sell it at 40, you're going to have to put up $60 because you could potentially lose 60 to potentially make 40 if it does go to 0. Okay, and your reward is the opposite, right? So, we kind of went through that. If I buy it, right, I'm a buyer. My maximum potential reward, if I bought it at 40, I can make 60. So 100 minus 40 is 60. If I sell it, the most I can make is what I sold it for. All right, hopefully there's no confusion there, and I think we're all kind of familiar with the concept of binary options. Is this event going to happen? Yes or no? And it trades at a probability between 0 and 100. That probability will move around as the price changes of the underlying and as time changes. And everything is a known risk reward up front. You know what you could potentially make, you know what you could potentially lose, and one contract is worth $100. Let's look at an order ticket so it'll put it a little bit more in context. All right, here's the condition. The US Tech 100, that is, it settles to the NASDAQ 100 future. All right, that's the price that it will settle to. Will the US Tech 100 finish higher than 94.60 at a certain time? All right, that is the product, the market, the US Tech 100. The condition, will it finish higher than 94.60? And the time, 4:15 at the end of the day. or tomorrow. And this looks like it was a daily contract. There's 18 hours to go. You'll see it in the upper right-hand corner. All right, so we see it. That's the condition. Will the NASDAQ 100 finish higher than this price at this time? You're probably familiar with the similar type of concept. I don't want to equate it to betting in sports, but a sports bet's a similar concept, a proposition. Will the Bears cover the spread this weekend? Yes or no? Will the NASDAQ 100 finish higher than this price? And again, at Nadex, we've got a lot of different markets, indices. This is an indice, foreign exchange, commodities markets, events, right? And you'll have a variety of strike prices of conditions. There's not just going to be 94.60. There'll be more strike prices for you to choose from. And 4:15 p.m., we're going to have a variety of expiration choices for you to choose from. There will be a bid and an ask. All right, there's going to be a market, and the market is the marketplace. If you wanted to buy or sell this contract, you don't have to trade on these prices, although a market order you can. You can always try to middle the market and see if someone's interested. In this particular instance, I just kind of put in the middle price, right? You can, we've clicked buy. You can see the buy is blue. If I had clicked sell, the sell would be red, so you know what you're actually doing. But I could put a price to try to buy one at 48, right in the middle of the market. And right now that's about the middle, 48. Actually, it looks like 49 would be the middle of the market, really, because that would be 4 down and 4 up. 49, the market is pricing this right now, this condition to be true at a 49% probability, which is roughly 50% probability of this potentially being true. And in fact, if you look in the upper left-hand corner, you can see that the indicative price is roughly near where the strike price is. That's why it's around 50%. All right, and then at the bottom, we always calculate your potential profit or your potential loss. If you were to buy one of these at 48, that's the most you can lose. You can't lose any more than 48. And what could you potentially make? It's 100 minus 48, so it would be $52. You'd risk 48 to make 52. Those add up to 100. Now, I am using a limit order here. There is a subtle nuance. If you use market orders, there is a tolerance level setting where you could, if you're doing a market order, the market can move and you might get a little bit of a fill away from the market. I will show you that when I demonstrate on the platform. But to understand the concept, they're $100 contracts. All of our binary options are potentially worth $100. And the risk reward should add up to 100. All right, now let's talk about the price of an option and how the price of the underlying market and time will impact that. Now, as we mentioned earlier, the price that you're trading can be thought of as the probability of the event occurring at that moment in time. Right? Is it going to be a true statement at that moment in time? And that probability will fluctuate. It will fluctuate constantly as the price of the underlying changes and as time changes. And if volatility changes, if volatility goes up or volatility goes down, it will also impact the price of that option. We kind of did this already a little bit. If I see an option that's trading 75 bid at 77, the midpoint, the 76%, that's what the market's pricing the probability as. That's the easiest way to understand where the market's pricing the probability. And the price of the option, and this is important, does not have to move with the underlying market. This is not a Delta One product. That would be one of our knockouts, where what I'm trading, the price of the underlying and the price of the product, a knockout, they're going to be right around, they're almost going to be the same. You're predicting whether it'll go up or go down. If you missed the knockout session, that was last week, I'd say go look at it. That is a Delta One product. Binary options are probabilities. So the probability, just because the price goes higher, the probability may or may not change. Something else can change, or if it goes down. So remember, price, of an option is impacted by the price movement of the underlying, the volatility underlying, and time. And I'm going to show you what I mean as we go through. And it is important that time to expiration and volatility will definitely impact the price of that option. Okay, so let's walk through. I'm going to go through 3 separate examples on a chart just so you can see. This is the high volatility chart. Okay, this, as you can see in this particular product, we're looking at the Euro US dollar being greater than 114 at 3 p.m. Will the Euro US dollar be greater than 114 at 3:30 p.m.? And you can see this is the chart of through the day. This is what the uh, price from beginning of the day to the end of the day, and let's look at what happened to the price of the binary option as time went on. And here's our price level. Here it is. We're at 114. That's the strike. Will it be higher? Now, early in the day, it was above 114. All right, early in the day, and notice the price of the option was higher than 50%. But it wasn't a really high price. It was still in the 50% range. 56% is the middle of the bid. That's the bid ask I'm showing you there. That's the bid ask. So early in the day, there was a lot of time to still go, but it was above 114. So because it was above 114, it's trading above a 50% probability. But because there's so much time, it's not trading hugely above 50. It's not trading at a 90% probability because there's a lot of time and anything can happen between now and the end of the day. In fact, as we look, it did drop pretty quickly shortly thereafter. Now, what happened? The price didn't go down to 10%. No, it went into the 40s. It did go below the 114 level. So now it is going to be below a 50% probability, but it didn't go way below because, again, there was a lot of time left. Later in the day, you can see it went up and down and up and down and up and down, but it was roughly at the same price level, but time slid forward. Okay, so here we are. It went from this 40% and time just skipped ahead. And where'd the price of the binary option go? It did drop down into the 30s. Okay, it did drop down to the 30s. It's not up at 40 something because we're still below the 114 level. It's in the 30s, but we're below 114, but there's still a half a day to go. Now, as time went on, it went back up above. All right, now notice earlier in the day when it was around this level, it was just in the 50s. But now we've skipped ahead. The time is running out. Right, we're moving closer to the end of the day. So now when it was up at the same price level, now the probability is in the 70s. Right, but there's still some time to go. We don't know what's going to happen. And in fact, it drops below right before the end of the day. And now, again, if you notice, early in the day when it was at this level, it was in the 40s. As time went on, it was in the 30s. Now we're back at this level, it's in the 20s. We are below that 114 level, and there's not a lot of time to go. And if you're thinking, hey, this thing has only got a 24% probability of being true, meaning it has to settle above the line. Remember, this is the euro being great, the euro US dollar being greater than 114. There's not a lot of time for it to rally. The price was down in the 20s, but look, lo and behold, it does get above there and settles at 100. It very quickly went from the 20 probability up to 100 because it rallied at the end of the day above the 114 level. All right, you can see from this where the price of the binary option, as the price of the underlying moves, it impacts the price of the probabilities. But as we get closer to expiration, you can see how that fluctuation becomes greater. Early in the day, when we went from a 50% probability to a 40% probability, it only moved 10, 12 percentage points. Late in the day when that happened, it changed 50 percentage points. Right? It dropped from 75 down to 25. Right? And At the very end of the day, it moved 75 percentage points. Those are pretty dramatic moves. It went from the 25 level all the way up to 100. So you can see how volatility, time, and price of the underlying impact the price of the binary option. Now we're going to go through one that's much lower volatility. And I'm not going to go through this as slowly because I think it's going to be pretty intuitive at this point. This here, it's a low volatility. It never crosses above 114. It stays below that 114 level the whole time. It starts off at a 42% probability because there's time to go. Midday, it decays to 30 because 34. There's still time to go, but it's below. Now it's decayed a lot because it's down around 20, and there's still not much time, and it eventually settles at 0. Notice that the price, the underlying, did not move much, but the binary option basically decayed from a 40% probability to a 0 as time went on. Early in the day, there was still a chance. As the day went on, the chance of this being true, or the probability of this being true, went lower and lower and lower and lower until it went to 0. Now, the same can be shown when it stays above. All right, let's just look at a low volatility where it never dips below. It starts off above 50%, all right, because we are above 114. As the day goes on, the probability actually is going higher. We're still above 114, even if the price of the underlying is a little lower. Kind of weird. The price of the underlying went down some, but the price of the binary option actually went up. All right, that is because, all right, and if you notice, here we are, we've gone down a little bit, but the price went from 54 up to 66. I'm using the middle because it's still above the 114 level, and there's a half a day to go, and it's a low volatility environment. Eventually, it rises up towards 80% being true, and then eventually it does settle at 100. Remember, it's either a 0 or 100 in the end. That's it. If it's above 114 at the end, it settles at 100. If it's below it, it's 0. And you can buy these and you can sell these. All right. Now, as I mentioned, you can see how the price volatility impacts it. It is important that that for each underlying market and for each time frame, we're going to give you choices. This is very different than some of the offshore binary options where there is only one choice. Is it going to go up from here? Yes or no. Is it going higher or is it going lower? Our binary options give you strike prices. You can choose which timed expiration and which condition best suit your trading style. Okay. And by the way, in extreme, I wanted to point that out, in extreme market volatility, if things are really going crazy, we may have to add price levels on the fly to give you additional choices. Now, when I say you've got choices, here's the euro US dollar, and you can see on the left-hand side, there are different settlement times, right? And you can see how much time's left in each one. So you're going to have a variety of expiration times. Do you want a shorter expiration or do you want a longer expiration? Do I want to do something that's going to happen in the next 10 minutes, the next hour, the next, day, 19 hours, or in multiple days? This was taken in the middle of the week. At the beginning of the week, there'd be 5 days in this to go. Okay, so we're going to give you a variety of time levels, and in each time level, we're going to give you a variety of strike prices to choose from. All right, you can choose which level best suits. Oh, you know something? By the way, there seemed to be some folks joined a little late, and oh, you know what? I apologize. Did we start this early? Oh, we might have started this a little. We might have started too early, and for that, I apologize. This has been recorded. This has been recorded, and you will be able to get the recording if you're coming in a little late. You will be able to get the recording at the end of the day. All right. So I think we actually started a little early today on mistake, but I am recording this. You will be able to get the recording, and I'm also going to put this out there. If you want the slide deck, email customerservice@nadex.com, and we will give you the slide deck. So for that, for any confusion there, I do apologize. I'm realizing we might have jumped the gun a little bit. All right, let's keep moving on, because we're at the end of the slide deck now. And one thing that is very important, when you are trading binary options, I have always told you, you know your risk reward when you get into the trade. How much can I potentially make? How much can I potentially lose? All right. But just because there's an expiration associated with the binary option does not mean you have to wait until expiration to see what happens. You can always choose to exit the position early if you want. All right, if you want, you can exit it early. So in that regard, it's important. So if you buy or sell a binary option and it's a 40% probability and it changes and you want to either lock in profits or limit losses because you decided you were wrong, you can always liquidate your position early. There's going to be a market up until probably about 20 seconds to expiration. And when I go through an example live, you will see that. All right, that is the end of the slide deck. All right, that is the end of the slide deck. And by the way, I do have people asking for the slide deck. I see some emails coming in, but I'm actually going to point this out, and this is really rather important. This customer service at nadex.com. If you just want to email them, I will get them the slide deck. They will send it to you. So just email customer service at nadex.com saying, hey, I missed the slide presentation of the binary options. And I'm also going to put this out there as well for those who are joining a little late. This is the third part of the Trade Nadex product series. 2 weeks ago was call spreads. Last week was knockouts. This week is binary options. They're all recorded. They're all going to be available. In fact, the other two are already up on our YouTube channel. So go to the Nadex YouTube channel or to the Nadex website. And in the webinar section, not only will you see upcoming webinars, but you'll be able to look at the archive section and you'll find the recordings there. And if you happen to see a presentation in there where you would like the slide deck from a past one, email customer service. We'll see what we can do if we still got those slide decks around. I want to encourage you also to visit us, trustpilot.com/review/nadex.com. Please leave us a review. And if you want to follow us on any of our social media channels, there they all are. All right, so you could screenshot this page. I would recommend that you do that. And please, reach out to us. We're here to help you. Even though we might have had an out trade, I think we might have started a half hour early. And for that, I apologize. Just some confusion on when the session started. But again, all recorded, slide deck available, so you will be able to review this. All right, at this point of our session, I want to jump over and take a look at the platform and walk through some binary options examples. And you'll be able to see how the price of the underlying is impacted by the movement in the price of the underlying as well as time. All right. And it's good to be able to get a view of these in action. So let me now share a different screen. Here we go. Okay. You should all be seeing the Nadex website. Okay. And again, you know what? If you've got any questions, type them in. I do apologize for the time the time mishap, but where some folks missed the first half of the slide presentation recorded. In fact, I'm going to show you right now in our learning section. If you go to webinars, I'm going to go ahead and click on that. You'll see all of our upcoming webinars. In fact, here is today's session, and this will eventually move over to the archives. And when you're in the archive section, you can find our recorded webinars. Here from last week is the part 2. This was all on knockouts done by my colleague Adam McCaden. And part 1, Adam also did call spreads. And this is where you will find the recording of today's session on binary options. And so you will be able to go back, review all of this at your leisure. I'm hoping to have this recording up later today, if not tomorrow. And again, email us at customerservice@nadex.com, and we'll be sure to get you the slide deck from today. In fact, whenever you want to see those. All right, now, enough with that. What I would like to do, I'm going to have to do this quickly. What did I do? There we go. Let's go ahead and jump over to the platform. I'm going to go ahead and click login. And I'm going to go ahead and log into a demo account so that we can actually do some demo trades. All right. Now, hopefully you're familiar with the platform. We have recordings of platform walkthroughs, right, in our archive section where we do a deep dive into all the functionality of the platform. We do those rather regularly as well. So if you're not really familiar with the platform, we do have a video. It's about in fact, let me click it. It's how long is it? It's 3.5 minutes. It's a 3.5 minute video that walks you through this as well. When you're logged in, you can always review that as well. But let's get into binary options. When you look up here on the left-hand corner of the platform, you do see our different products, call spreads, knockouts. In binary options, as I mentioned, we've got very short-term products, so 5-minute binaries. All right, if I click 5 minutes, and in that, you're going to see all of our Forex pairs. These are all Forex options, foreign exchange. We do have 20-minute binaries, so a little bit longer than 5 minutes. These are in our index products, the indices. The US Tech 100, which is the NASDAQ 100, the S&P 500, US 500, the Russell 2000, small and mid caps, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the Wall Street 30. Then, as I mentioned, we have indices, foreign exchange, commodities, and right now we don't have any event contracts right now, but when there are events available, you'll have events listed in here as well. As I mentioned, you have in the indices, there's a variety of indices to choose from. In each one, there are a variety of expirations, and within each expiration, there are going to be a bunch of different strike prices and levels. Now, what I would like to do is I think a great way to really see how the price of, all right, here we go, how the price of binary options can be dramatic and how you really can see its impact. I'm going to bring up a 5-minute contract. Let's go ahead and bring up the pound US dollar, and I'm just going to pick one of them, and I am going to expand this a bit so we can see all of the strikes. Let's make this a daily at 5 minutes. I think that's going to be a little easier. Let's expand it. Let's hide this. I want to be able to see all these strike prices. And this has been moving all over the place. Oh. Okay, here we go. And let's get rid of this. Okay. Here's the price of the underlying. All right, it's at 129.12. You can see it up here as well. And you'll notice, here's the at the money contract. There's a 50-50 probability here at this moment in time. Let's just do this so it's a little easier to see. All right, and we're going to watch. Notice how the out of the money, this one's a little higher. It's around 30%. I mean, because we're below this level. Notice down here, we're above this level, it's in the 80%. But you're going to watch the probabilities and the prices of these move. Now, we've got 3.5 minutes left in this particular binary option. Is the pound going to finish higher than 129.13 in the next 3 minutes? As long as we stay above here, this is going to stay above 50%. If we start tracking higher, you'll watch this track higher than 50%. Look at that, it's moved into the 60s. Notice up here, as long as it stays below here, it's going to stay below 50%. And now we're moving back down. I mean, you're watching as the price of the underlying moves, the price of the probabilities change. In a highly volatile environment, these will change more dramatically. We're not doing a lot of tick movement here, and we still have 2.5 minutes to go. And you'll watch. I mean, this did dip below. Look at this. It at one moment in time, it got below here, and this is now trading below 50%. Okay, and then as it ticks higher, it immediately started ticking back up. You're seeing how quickly the price of these can move, right? And you'll see the probabilities change much more quickly as time also approaches zero. So we've got two factors here that are really playing into the price of these underlyings, of these binary options. It's the price movement in the underlying and the time to expiration, and you're watching how quickly the probabilities can fluctuate. Now, if we're further away from time, hours, days, or a week, this won't be as dramatic. This is why I like to show it in 5 minutes, because in a minute and a half, this contract is going to settle. And every one of these binary options is either going to settle at 100 if it's true, or 0 if it's false. Right? And it's really rather amazing how quickly these volatility, and that price action does create opportunity. Right? If I don't think it's going to get above here right now, I think it's ticking higher, but we've only got a minute to go. Hey, I could try to sell one, and I mean up here. It's just wow. I mean, look how quickly it moved. Let's sell one at 26. I couldn't even. I tried to. I had an opportunity to sell one at 40, and let's just cancel that order. And it immediately, oh wow, look at this. And as it's ticking back up, I mean, look at how quickly, because it went above. All right. And this one down here that was around 50, it's up at 90. This one down here is all the way up at 100 already. I mean, this market's telling you in the next 27 seconds, it's not. Now, this is what I wanted to point out too. Because these fluctuations can be so dramatic, when there's about 20, 25 seconds left, people are going to get out of the market because we don't know what's going to happen. In fact, 7 seconds, look at this. Let's see what happens. 4, 3, 2, 1. That just settled. This one did settle at 100. All right. This one settled at 0. Now, also notice that as soon as the 5 minutes expired, all right, the new probabilities popped in. Okay. And I just brought it back. And we've got the same strike price levels. All right. But they got new probabilities. So and so that's really the binary option. I wanted to give it to you quickly in 5 minutes for you to be able to see how you can buy or sell these and the price action that you see in them. Now, if this price action, this volatility is too extreme for you, then you might, 20 minutes might still be a bit much, but you can take a look at things that got hours. Right, and they're not going to be as dramatic. Here's the DAX, the German index, and it's got, again, you're going to have a variety of strike prices that you can choose from, and a variety of times for you to choose from that best suit your trading style. I think that covers it for binary options. Again, I apologize for those who came in late. We had a snafu, a mishap on on when this was going to start. So for that, I do apologize. But again, this was recorded. It will be available either later today or tomorrow, so you can review it at your leisure. Check the Nadex website in the archive in the webinar section or our YouTube channel. I would recommend that you subscribe to our our YouTube channel because we are constantly putting new content up there. And then email customer service at nadex.com. We'll make sure you get the slide deck as well. And that's true for any of our presentations. With that, I want to thank those who were with me, and hopefully we don't have that little out trade on timing again. And I do want to wish everyone to stay safe and sane during these crazy times, as well as good luck in the markets.